Hey everyone, welcome back to Phrenology, where we drag the shadows out into the light every Monday with bone-chilling animated horror tales straight from the edge of nightmares. If you're hooked on these spine-tinglers, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a midnight drop. Eerie synth music fades in. It was supposed to be her big break. Sarah Thompson, 24, fresh out of Ohio State with a graphic design degree, and dreams bigger than the Rust Belt skyline she left behind. She landed a gig at a hip ad agency in downtown Brooklyn. And just like that, she was packing U-Hauls and trading cornfields for concrete canyons. The move was brutal sky-high rents, subway rats the size of feral cats. But then she stumbled on this gem, a tiny studio in the old Hawthorne Arms, a crumbling pre-war walk-up off Myrtle Avenue. Rent, a steal at $800 a month. Too good to be true. Nah, she thought. Just the city's hidden hustle. But from day one, the neighbors gave her the creeps. The super, a grizzled Polish guy named Eddie with eyes like chipped flint, grunted her keys and vanished without a tour. The lady next door, Mrs. Kowalski, ancient, hunched, with a rosary perpetually tangled in her arthritic fingers, stared through Sarah like she was a ghost already. And the kids. There were always kids in the halls, sticky-fingered urchins from the projects across the street. But they'd scatter when she passed, whispering in that rapid Spanglish Street patois. La Niña Muerta. No entres. Dead girl, don't go in. Sarah chalked it up to language barriers and urban paranoia. Even the cleaning lady from Craigslist ghosted her after one look at the unit. Bad juju, honey, she muttered over the phone. Ain't worth the bleach. Sarah shrugged it off. The place was close to the L train, had decent light for her sketches, and hey, cheap. She unpacked her thrift store easel, hung fairy lights to chase the mildew stink, and dove into freelance gigs while the agency onboarding dragged. Nights were for takeout lo mein and binging true crime pods, the kind where podcasters dissect unsolved vanishings with that faux menacing bass. First weirdness hit on a muggy Thursday. She was FaceTiming her little sister back in Cleveland, venting about the roaches that tap-danced across her counter at dusk. Midway through a rant about her micromanaging boss, Jess froze mid-sentence. Sarah, you hear that? Like a baby crying, faint, but it's there, in the background. Sarah paused, cupping her ear to the static hum of her laptop mic. Nothing. Just the distant wail of sirens and the AC's death rattle wheeze. You're trippin', Jess. Probably the neighbor's TV. They laughed it off, signed off. But the next night, her roommate from college called unprompted, just checking in. Same deal, dude, is there a kid next door? That's sobbing, it's breaking my heart. Sarah muted the call, strained against the silence. Zilch. By the weekend, it was a pattern. Mom on the landline, sweetie, that poor baby's lungs get social services. Her best guy friend from the office Slack. Voice note timestamped 2 a.m. Bro, your place haunted or what? Crying's giving me chills. She started doubting her sanity. Was it tinnitus from the subway rumble? Carbon monoxide from the ancient radiator? She Googled phantom sounds in apartments and drowned in forum threads about infrasound and mold hallucinations. Ignored it, pushed through. Until that Tuesday night, the one that cracked the facade. It was pushing 1 a.m., the kind of hour where the city holds its breath between bar close and dawn hustle. Sarah had crashed hard after a deadline crunch, tangled in thrift sheets that smelled like faded lavender. Then it pierced the dark, a wail, high-pitched, ragged, like a newborn's first betrayal of the womb. Not muffled, not next door, this was inside. Her eyes snapped open, heart jackhammering against her ribs. The crying stopped dead, snipped like a wire. She bolted upright, sheets pooling at her waist, and rasped into the void. Hello? Who's there? Silence, thick as tar, then a giggle, low, wet, bubbling up from the floorboards like drainage gone wrong. It slithered closer, teasing the edge of her bed. She fumbled for her phone, flashlight beam slicing the gloom. There, crouched behind the flimsy hollow-core door, half swallowed by shadow, a shape. Small, toddler small, pigtails limp and matted, a frilly dress yellowed with age and something darker. It uncurled, eyes catching the light like oil slicks, and bolted, a blur of pale limbs skittering across the scuffed hardwood. Sarah lunged after it, bare feet slapping cold linoleum, but the apartment was a dead end. Jeanette empty, bathroom door ajar to porcelain ghosts. Back in the bedroom, panting, she froze. Her full-length mirror, the one propped against the wall from IKEA, gleamed under the street lamp bleed. Smeared across it, handprints, tiny, splayed, the size of a 2-year-old's. Not smudges, streaks of crimson, tacky and fresh. Blood. Sarah gagged, backing away until her calves hit the bed frame. She didn't sleep, didn't call the cops, just sat there till sunrise, watching the prints fade like a bad dream. Dawn brought clarity, or so she hoped. She cornered Eddie in the lobby, the super nursing a thermos of black coffee that reeked of regret. What the hell's the deal with 3B? Ghosts? Squatters? He crossed himself, muttering something in Polish that sounded like a curse. Bad place, missy. Widow Duval lived there. Crazy old bat from the bayou, Louisiana roots, they say. Voodoo queen, hoodoo hag. Folks whispered she cursed the block for sport. Sarah pressed, and Eddie spilled like a punctured vein. Turns out, Mrs. Duval had slunk into the Hawthorne 15 years back. Post-Katrina evacuee with a trunk of secrets and a limp from the spirits. She kept to herself, mostly beads rattling, candles guttering in her windows like signal fires. But the kids, God, the kids. Neighborhood brats went missing for hours, days. Found dazed in her stairwell, babbling about the doll that cries and sugar teeth. One mom swore Duval snatched her toddler from the sandbox, cooing Creole lullabies laced with hexes. Promotions soured overnight, new hires at the corner deli keeled over with curses that docs couldn't name. A corner store lotto winner. His ticket stubs burned in a freak fire. House foreclosed by week's end. The super's voice dropped to a gravel hush. Society had enough. Secretary, big Irish fella, Callahan confronted her. Words turned to blows. Next morning, Callahan's strung up in his own garage, throat slit ear to ear, body gnawed like a chew toy. Bite marks small, precise, child-sized. The building rioted. They stormed 3B, dragged Duval out cackling, her skirts shedding feathers and bone shards. Inside, a nightmare nursery, altars of chicken feet and graveyard dirt, dolls stitched from infant burial shrouds. And in the closet, a tiny skeleton, brittle as autumn leaves, ribs cracked like they'd been pried for secrets. Cops ruled it a hoarder homicide, but the whispers stuck. Duval had dug up a pauper's grave from the old Cypress Hills Cemetery, a stillborn girl from the 90s. Bound her unrest with a botched familiar rite, voodoo's dark familiar, a spirit slave stitched to the caster's whim. Meant to curse enemies, fetch fortunes, backfired. The thing turned feral, loyal only to its hunger. The unit sat vacant for years, a black hole in listings. Cursed, agents shrugged. Then Sarah signed the lease. She bolted home, laptop glowing like a Ouija board. Voodoo familiar curse. Forums bled into arcana sites. Tailies of voodoo-bound shades. Exhumed innocence twisted into Vives of vengeance. If the caster died mid-ritual or fled, the spirit lingered, a poltergeist puppeteered by unfinished malice. It fed on breath, on joy, mimicking the cries of the lost to lure the living. Sarah's throat tightened just reading it. Then the lights flickered once, twice, plunging the room into ink. Air thickened, a vice clamping her windpipe. Invisible fingers, small and insistent, dug in. She clawed at nothing, gasping, stumbling to the sink for water. Glass shattered on tile. In the window's reflection, bruises blooming on her neck. Delicate, fingerprint ovals. A child's grasp. A crash from the bedroom sob, raw and escalating, like grief weaponized. She crept back, beam trembling. The sound poured from above, from the sagging drop ceiling over her bed. Plaster dust sifted down. Then motion. 2 hands pudgy, gray-veined, pried through a seam, nails black as rot. A face followed, cherubic gone wrong, cheeks sallow and sunken, eyes milky with grave mud. Jagged teeth grinned through peeled lips, a lipless leer promising nursery rhymes in blood. The thing drooled ectoplasm, cooing her name in a voice like drowned bells. Mama, play. Sarah screamed, pure animal, and vaulted for the door. It leapt a scrabble of limbs, fetid and feral barreling after. She hit the hall running, pounding neighbors' doors to dead echoes. Stairs, 2 at a time, down to the lobby where Eddie night shifted, dozing behind bulletproof glass. Help, it's in my. But he was already up, baton out, lumbering toward the threat. Stay put, girl. Too late. His flashlight beam swept the stairwell, caught a flicker, then his bellow cut short to gurgle. Sarah spun, Eddie tumbling down, neck a ruff of purpled welts, eyes wide in terminal surprise. And perched on the railing above, the thing, pigtails swaying, dress dripping ichor. But now its sockets wept black tar, thick as regret, pooling on the steps. Pandemonium erupted, doors cracking, shouts in 6 tongues. By first light, a priest from St. Mary's was there, Father Ruiz, face like weathered oak, aspergillum swinging holy water like buckshot. He toured 3B, murmuring Latin that steamed the air, and declared it. The familiars unbound, but tethered. That child's soul stolen too soon, twisted for spite. It don't rest, it hungers, for the breath you stole by living. He torched sage bundles, etched crosses in salt, but warned Sarah, "Run far, child. These things, they imprint." That afternoon, U-Haul reloaded. She ghosted Brooklyn for a sublet in Jersey. The Hawthorne, sealed by code violation, windows boarded like a crypt. No one's leased 3B since. Sarah's thriving now, new gig, new city, therapy bills stacking like Jenga. She dates, laughs at rom-coms, sketches sunsets over the Hudson. But some nights, when the wind whistles through vents like a colicky sigh, she swears she hears it, faint, insistent, a baby's cry echoing from the walls of her fresh start life. Hungry, always hungry. Folks, if that didn't leave you checking your ceiling fans, our next horror special, The Jersey Devil's Doorstep, is live now on our sister channel, Midnight Echoes. Pin comments got the link, dive in if you dare. Loved this? Subscribe to Creepy Corners, hit like, and drop a comment. What's your building's darkest secret? Sweet dreams or not?